This is Hino's Sport bringing you that heat and that fire. We keeping a foot on the what? On the next. We keeping a foot on the what? On the next. Now let's talk about it, man. Terence Crawford. Woo! The Chihuahua barking behind the damn fence. And Shawn Porter, my buddy and me. My buddy and me. My buddy and me. And number 4, my buddy and me. Because that's how many times he ducked Shawn Porter. Hold up. Shawn Porter is the number 1 mandatory for the WBO belt? Things that make you say, Things that make you say, Here's the cold-hearted, here's the unadulterated, and here's the cutthroat truth-teller fashion. We have to sit here and we have to ask ourselves, the chicken has come to roost. Let me say it again. The chicken has come to roost. You can't be sitting here, ducktails, ducktails, There's a stranger out to find you. There's a stranger out to find you. What to do is grab on you some ducktails. Woo! You can't be fucking ducktailing out here in these boxing streets and don't think that it's gonna reciprocate or find your ass. Terence Crawford's been ducking everybody, but Al Heyman already put it out there. If you want the Errol the Truth Spence fight, you have to fight somebody at the upper echelon of the welterweight division. So you could ducktails all you want. Woo! You could have a stranger out to find you. You could do whatever you want, but you could ducktails and continue to ducktails all you freaking want. But that was the standard. At least one upper echelon of the welterweight division. If it was up to Hino's Sport, it was going to be 2. Let me say it again. If it was up to Hino's Sport, it was going to be 2. But the bottom line is, Shawn Porter is the number 1 mandatory for the WBO belt. Now, let's see what Terence Crawford's the Chihuahua barking behind the damn fence excuse is going to be. You see, this is the problem. He showed up to the 147-pound division, beat a lame duck Jeff Horn, beat a 5-year past his prime at that time Amir Khan, beat a one-legged gimp Jose Benavidez, beat a freaking meme machine. All fighters that, when you really look at the fight against Jose Benavidez, it went 12 rounds. Damn near almost lost that fight. Got dropped in 3 rounds by Mean Machine. Amir Khan was just pretty much done. After the Danny Garcia and the freaking Canelo Alvarez fight, he was damaged goods beyond damaged goods beyond damaged goods. And Jeff Horn, let's just keep it real. It was just so that Terence Crawford could get a fucking belt. That's what Errol the Truth Spence talked about when he said, go get a fucking belt. He meant do heavyweight lifting. Let me say it again. He meant do heavyweight lifting, not be the lame duck. And now Shawn Porter is the mandatory. These two belong together because Shawn Porter and his rabbit ass was the one earlier this year saying no tune-ups. And then he goes and turns around and fights a fucking tune-up in Sebastian Formella. And he didn't even knock the dude out. All I saw was cornrows flapping. Let me say it again. All I saw was cornrows flapping. But then when we look at Terence Crawford, what has he done? This is actually a real fight for him. And if this fight actually happens, because Hino's Sport is going to reserve judgment until pen is put to the freaking paper and it's signed, sealed, and delivered like UPS and signed on the freaking dot. Until this fight actually happens, it's nothing but a Chihuahua barking behind the damn fence material. Here's the cold-hearted, here's the unadulterated, and here's the cutthroat truth-telling fashion. It's about damn time my buddy and me, they freaking fight one another. Because when we last checked, Errol the Truth Spence fought his my buddy and me in Lamont Peterson, and he mangled him. Didn't have no hesitation. Because in the fight game, there ain't no friends in the fight game. Let me say it again. There are no friends in the fight game. You fight first, mangle his ass, and then friends later after the fact. That's just how Free Smoke Jr. gets around. Now we're going to see what Terence Crawford is all about if this fight comes to fruition. I'm actually happy for this fight. The question is, will this fight get made? With all of the antics associated with Terence Crawford and his being a Chihuahua barking behind the damn fence, Hino's Sport is not going to hold his breath for this fight. Let me say it again. Hino's Sport is not going to hold his breath for the fight. Hino's Sport needs to see that this fight is signed, sealed, and delivered like UPS on the dotted line. And then now we could say, okay, Terence Bud Crawford, you want some smoke. You actually want to fight an opponent at the welterweight division. But the bottom line is the fight needs to happen before we could sit here and say what we need to say. Everything at this point is alluding to being a chihuahua barking behind the damn fence. Always a barking behind the damn fence. That's the cold-hearted, that's the unadulterated, and that's the cutthroat two-ton of fashion. But here's a good backup. If the Shawn Porter fight falls through, Terence Bud Crawford needs to stop bullshitting and give Gary Russell Jr. that chance that he's been asking for. Gary Russell just wants 1.5. So get off of your ass, give him the Kell Brook payday, and fight his ass if your ass ain't going to fight Shawn Porter. But the moves that we've been seeing that Terence Bud Crawford has been making, if Bud Man fans, Omaha Hall Nebraskans, i.e. reverse bias, AK detractors, AK panders, are holding Terence Bud Crawford's foot to the fire, they will say no excuses. Let me say it again. They will say no excuses. Because at this point, no excuses are warranted and no excuses are merited. If Terence Bud Crawford does not fight an upper echelon welterweight, then when it's all said and done, he's a chihuahua barking behind the damn fence. I keeps the foot on the what? On the next. I keeps the foot on the what? On the next. When it's all said and done, my buddy and me, yeah, they belong together. This is Hino's Sport. Checking out.